Hello, everybody. Welcome to a statistical analysis of why Gentlemates Alpine were unable to perform nearly as well as people were expecting in the RLCS 2025 season so far. If you have missed things just a little bit, I had recently put out a little bit of a Twitter poll just saying, who would be interested. So for the 15 people that said that they would watch this, you better be watching this. Otherwise, why would you vote on the poll? Anyways, what actually happened? So Gentlemates, they just had such a worse split than anticipated. Before the season even started, they kicked off Itachi, one of the best players in all of Europe. Everyone was questioning it, and they picked up Radosin, former world champion, on Team Vitality. And I personally thought that they would be in the running for that fourth spot with Ninjas in Pajamas. Didn't end up actually happening. Um, Instead, I mean, as you can see, they started off okay, fifth to sixth, losing to NIP, and then in Open 2, 9th to 12th, didn't even make it to Saturday, which is a shocking performance, losing to Ascend, and then 13th to 16th in that final Open, not getting a single win in that group stage, losing to who is that? I don't even know who that is. Synergy. I want to say Synergy, but ended up having them at eighth place when it came to points for the split. So not a good look for Gentlemates. I'm going to get into today why that has happened. We're going to dive into the statistics of the last season and this season, and yeah, let's just get right into it. So, team statistics for this. I have it all laid out here. I might be looking over it this way a little bit because I have some coded notes. So, looking at it, we have Gentlemates 2024 versus Gentlemates 2025. Of course, Gentlemates 2024 had Itachi compared to Radosin, a very different player, set up a very different dynamic for the team. In 2024, this was a very balanced team style. All three players were contributing pretty heavily in all statistics, while in 2025, Radosin's more of a third man role, right? He likes to sit back, let his teammates do stuff, and then when the moment comes, he strikes. That is his playstyle, and so this obviously changes the statistics a little bit. We're adding some context here for it. Looking at it, Gentlemates 2024. Oh, also one thing I should explain. You're going to see this 0.18 GPG and then a triangle. That's delta for anyone that doesn't do statistics. It's basically a symbol of difference. So it's how many goals per game that they got over their opponents. And so you took their goals per game, you took their opponent's goal per game for that same match, and then obviously just do the difference there. I don't see a lot of people using this statistic. Honestly, I don't think I see anyone using it, but I feel like it adds a ton of context to the game because I mean you could be putting up 6 goals per game, insane hypothetical, and yet still be losing games. You'd have a negative GPG delta. I think that's very important to see. So, Gentlemates 2024, right? Almost 2 goals per game, 1.57 assists per game. So you're looking at a little over 75 to almost 80% assist rate, and both of those positive deltas. Then you have 4.87 saves per game. That actually has a negative delta. That's a good thing. That means that they are on defense less than their opponents that they are playing. Then you have 8.75 shots per game, again, shooting more than their opponents, with a 22.7% shooting percentage. I think that really teams should be looking for that 25% range, but I mean, we're talking about Gentlemates from last season. They're obviously a top 4 in Europe. And then finally, 3.05 demos per game, actually getting fewer demos than their opponents. Every time that I've done a rating system or anything like that, I do a correlation for how these statistics actually compare to their win rate. Demos per game almost don't matter or have a slight negative impact. So it's actually good to have fewer demos, which is kind of surprising given the meta. Obviously, a few teams are an outlier for that. And then we look at 2025, and I mean, we see obviously the big differences. 0.4 goals per game less and a negative goal per game delta, 1.36 assists. So they're actually getting a lot of assists, but they're getting a lot less assists than obviously our opponents because they're getting a lot less goals than our opponents. That assist rate, though, is looking really good. 1.36 to a 1.6 goals per game. That's what, probably like an 85% rate. Really good assist rate. And then you're looking at a 4.72 saves per game. They're surprisingly getting even fewer saves than previously, yet they're getting more saves than their opponents. Obviously, that's a bad thing. They have a 7.45 shots per game. Now, that is the really big thing that I've highlighted here compared to last season. They're getting 1.3 shots less per game than before, and they're getting outshot by their opponents so much more. They should be honestly trying to replicate that shot number. And then you see 21.4% shooting percentage. Not great, but come with everything that we have seen, that's not really out of the ballpark for them. Makes sense. And then they actually increased their demos per game by a lot, 3.81, and they are getting more demos now than their opponents. So they tried adapting with a physical play style, and obviously it hasn't worked out. So we see all this. Obviously, the big things to note is that 8.75 shots per game compared to the 7.45. Just getting so many fewer shots. They are getting more demos, but it doesn't seem to be doing much. And of course, that shots per game differential, they're getting a lot fewer shots than their opponents. If they were even just getting one shot per game more, 0.3 in their favor, not as great, but they really want to be looking to that last season when they were getting so many more shots. I think that is very vital for that, even if maybe some of those shots are getting saved. But all this is kind of hard to compare because obviously you have Itachi, who had a world-class season last season, while Radosin was starting to fall off on vitality a little bit, and hasn't really been at the top. Obviously, he's been at majors and that stuff, but not at the top. And it's just such a different dynamic between these two teams. So it's hard to put the context of the team statistics. So let's go to the individual players, starting with Juicy. Juicy, I think, actually has the best comparison between the two seasons. 0.57 goals per game compared to 0.43 for this season. You're going, oh no, he's getting less goals per game. Well, he actually increased his assists 0.49 up to 0.62. So every goal that he was getting before, he's now putting into assists and actually getting more assists than he was goals. So he's getting a slightly more in that offensive style. 1.58 saves compared to now 1.79. That's obviously just because they were on defense more, and so he has to make a few more saves. And here's the thing that I find really interesting is that 2.93 shots per game before compared to now 2.32. And you can see that that shooting percent, despite having fewer shots, goes down. Now, obviously, we just talked about goals per game. He's replacing that with assists. So it's probably he shoots, doesn't go in, gets saved, and his teammate gets to follow it up. Or, throws it off the backboard, counts as a shot, that kind of stuff. But it doesn't help to see that he's not shooting as much. He's instead setting up his teammates. And that becomes much more of that first man role that we look for in this 1-2-3 play style, right? He's the first man. He does a high flying mechanic, gets off the backboard, or gets a pass center for a teammate to finish up. So I'm not too worried about Juicy's statistics here. I think he looks okay statistically. Moving on to Seiko. I mean, this is a really weird one. 0.69 goals per game, now 0.68. Doesn't change at all. 0.57 assists to 0.36 assists. So he actually lowers it a lot more, but I think that there is a good reason for this. We're going to skip a couple. 22.8 shooting percentage, now up to 26.7. Seiko's actually increased his shooting percentage so much more, and he's taking fewer shots. So he's taking a half less shot per game, 3.05 now 2.55, and he's scoring more of them. So I think that this actually goes into the idea of, okay, so then Seiko just needs to be taking more shots, and either, his shooting percentage might go back down to like that 22, 23, but he might score even more goals, but he's not making up for his assists that he's losing. He needs to be scoring more goals. So like your goals plus assists should be staying pretty similar no matter what, unless you switch to maybe more of a balanced play style where you have to allow a teammate, but they're switching to a 1-2-3 play style. So theoretically, Seiko should actually be gaining some because he is that second man. He should be shooting more and scoring more. And then demos, again, same thing. So Seiko, there's some ups, there's some downs, but overall, statistically, not worse, just a little bit different. Then we move on to Radosin. And, okay, listen. I obviously don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So I don't know what their play style is. I don't know what their plan is for this team. I'm just going off of what we can visually see. And what we can see, Radosin, 0.85 to 0.49 goals per game. That's worse. Okay, maybe he is changing that for assists. Nope. 0.56 assists down to 0.38. So before, Radosin was getting a 1.4 goal input per game. Now, no, he's getting a 0.9. That's significantly less. Not only that, 1.8 saves down to 1.45. 2.76 shots per game down to 2.57. And here is the big kicker, 30.9 shooting percentage last season. That's actually an insanely high shooting percentage. He's down to 19% shooting. And then demos per game, 1.64 down to 1.45. Radosin is worse in literally every category this season. And that doesn't make any sense because, I mean, he is that third man. He was that third man last season. He's that third man this season. It should be doing it. It is straight up Radosin's performance that is hampering this team statistically. I mean, there's nothing more to say. He is just worse off in every way. And maybe they're trying to do a balanced play. I honestly, I have not watched this team play at all. I am purely looking at the statistics. I just haven't had time to watch Europe RLCS for the most part. Unless they are trying to do a balanced play style where all three are putting in equal amount of work and it's just not working out, Radosin should be that third man. He should have as many goals. Sure, assists might be lower because he's that third man. He should be doing decently on the same on saves. The shots are honestly about the same. It's that shooting percentage, though. I mean, he is 12% less. That's ridiculous. That should never be happening. And I think we're seeing a real lapse come out of Radosin. So that leads to our verdict. Something needs to change for this Gentlemates team, obviously, and there's two paths to go about it. Either Radosin needs to change his playstyle. He needs to be planning those shots, and he needs to be supporting his team when he doesn't think he has the shot. 0.38 assists per game isn't that great when you're also not putting in goals. So he needs to either put the goals in the net or give it to a teammate who can. Both options, completely fine. Only other option, Gentlemates have to get rid of Radosin. I think that he is the clearly standout player that is hampering this team statistically. They either need to find a better third man who can really lock in, get those shots in, rotate back, keep things in play, and give his teammates time to get back, or they need to change their play style up, allow a more balanced play style where all three players are putting in that work, very similar to what Gentlemates had last season with Itachi. I think that those are the only two options. That is my statistical analysis of why the Gentlemates have been collapsing this split. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Appreciate it. Peace out.